A night in the forests, a vanishing ecosystem and its species. It was July and herping season was almost upon us. Do you know what herping is? It's when we head out in the night to look for herpetofauna, which includes snakes, frogs, toads, lizards, and many more amphibians and reptiles. Our herping trips went well until August. A week-long torrential downpour occurred across the entire Uttar Kannada district of Karnataka, which created numerous calamities. Floods formed, landslides occurred, and roads were barricaded. A week passed by, and we were back in the field. The forest bustled with life and activity. One night, we went herping with a naturalist, Omkar Pai. He was well known for his knowledge about herpetofauna, despite being quite young. With a total of 4 people ready in gear, we travelled south from Sirsi towards Yana. We tirelessly traversed through the wet forest in search of wildlife. As we ventured further away from the human landscape and deep into the forest, the air became cold and damp. We then soon followed a forest trail that led us to a rare, hidden ecosystem, the Myristica swamps. Myristica swamps, along with sacred forests, are the most important parts of the rainforests of the Western Ghats. These unique swamps are present along forest streams and are home to many unknown animals and plants. The trees associated with these swamps are highly threatened. These kinds of forests are found in very few places, which makes them even more important to protect. Our senior companion took the lead, walking carefully along the side of the narrow stream as he explained how these streams that flow year-round and the cool, dense canopy cover create the perfect habitat for survival, courtship, and egg-laying of endemic frogs, which are only found in these parts of India. The Kempfulli night frog, which we encountered that particular night, lays its eggs on leaves or low-lying branches near the water. The occasional canopy opening gave us a glimpse into the clear, starry sky, and apart from the sound of the trickling stream, which was joined with the croaking of frogs, the night was quiet and peaceful. Thanks to our noisy rustling, the croaking stopped. Without their calls to guide us, and thanks to their camouflage bodies, finding frogs became a game of hide and seek. Suddenly danger arrived. The creature wasn't large or a ferocious beast, but a foot-long reptile, the Malabar pit viper, a fascinating snake that calls the swamps home. With a range of camouflage colors, these creatures are nocturnal and live in the dense, moist, evergreen forests of the Western Ghats. The viper in front of us was green and lay 4 feet above the ground, coiled around a branch in an S shape. Their ability to sense heat and sudden ambush attacks make these vipers truly remarkable. This was our first viper sighting of the season. For frogs, the stream was an ideal place for survival and breeding, and for the vipers, this was the perfect hunting ground. The frogs continued to croak, totally unaware that a fearsome ambush predator had its eyes on them all along. This is nature's domain, a world between life and death. After that exciting encounter, we found a tea stall on our way to our next route. The stall owner was chatty and friendly and recounted his observations of the possible habitat of a frog species. With his directions, we arrived at the location. The hill wasn't steep, and there was a wider stream at the bottom. We explored it, but we heard nothing unusual. Disappointed to hear nothing new, we decided to leave. But suddenly, the whole valley was filled with melodious notes. A frog. This frog had an orange-brown body with a golden iris surrounded by an iridescent blue ring. The yellow bush frog, or blue-eyed bush frog, is an endemic frog species that shines like a gem in the night sky. Who knew that the chaiwala would lead us to such an interesting species? On the half-submerged rocks in the streams, we found dancing frogs displaying their dance moves to woo females and compete with other males. These flexible leg movements are bound to inspire many questions, yet little is known about them. We also happened to see some glittering objects in a trench below. Upon closer inspection, we found them to be eggs of a particular spider with an intricately designed web. Just as the night brings life to nocturnal creatures, so does it bring about the fear of the unknown. The shadows of the trees and the rustling of leaves can rob one's sense of thought and perception, particularly at night. In the words of Earl Nightingale, whenever we are afraid, it's because we don't know enough. If we understood enough, we would never be afraid. While a part of our research involved documenting frog diversity, we also assessed the threats that frogs and their habitats face. Apart from the numerous roadkills, we found Myristica swamps undergo immense pressure as people continue to build homes and convert forests to farmland. Climate change is another big threat to swamps. People depending heavily on the perennial streams for agriculture use and construction of unnecessary bridges have drastically changed the landscape. Not only do these streams sustain animals and plants living both in the water and in the forest, but they also play an important role in water and soil conservation and in preventing floods. With bittersweet feelings, we left the Myristica swamps that day, unsure of what lies ahead for this ancient, highly diverse ecosystem. These swamps provide a glimpse into the biological history of nature, and we must prevent them from collapsing. The question is not will we take action, but when will we take action?